Welcome to Live Your Best Midlife. I'm your host, Jill Lewis. Join me for inspiring pep talks and expert interviews as we explore staying active, feeling great, and embracing midlife adventures. Whether you're an empty nester, a pickleball enthusiast, or just ready to rediscover your vibrant self, this podcast is for you. Let's make our mid-years our best years. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to the show. I cannot wait for you to hear today's episode. I am sitting down with the fabulous Deanna Pizitz, the voice behind Well and Worthy Life, and we are going there. We talk openly about her facelift experience, why she chose to do it, what recovery was really like, and the surprising things no one tells you. We also dive into what it's like to host a wedding at your house. Yes, a wedding, and how she keeps fitness fun and doable in the empty nest years and the mindset shifts that helps her thrive in midlife. Deanna is honest, gracious, and full of wisdom. And whether you've ever considered cosmetic surgery or you're just trying to stay strong and sane in your empty nest phase, this one is for you. Let's get into it. All right, Deanna, thank you so much for joining us. I cannot wait for my audience to get connected to you and just be inspired by you. You are such I always talk to my clients about the empty nest glow up, and I feel like you personify that to the umpth degree.
Thank you, Jill. Thanks so much for having me. And I want to apologize in advance if you hear any snoring in the background. That's not my husband. It is my dog that's right underneath my desk here. So I just have to get that out of the way.
No problem. What kind of dog do you have?
I have a King Charles Cavalier. She likes to be right by my feet, and she sounds like a grown man snoring. So anyway, I just have to tell you that.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Deanna and I connected last year on social media, and I was going to have you on the podcast then, and we were having trouble getting our schedules to get coordinated, which is always the funny thing, I think, in empty nest life. You think like you're not going to be busy at all, but we're busy all the time.
All the time. Yeah. I know. I was just talking to somebody the other day. They were talking about how busy they are now. And it is, I think we always are busy. We never slow down.
For sure. But since then, you've had a lot going on. You hosted a wedding for your son. You've had pretty major surgery. It was cosmetic surgery, but it was still surgery and recovery. So I thought, you know what? Let's dive into all of that, because that is a lot to take on in 6 months period of time.
It is. It's funny because I always do things like that, right? But yeah, so first of all, it was April 26th of 2024, my son got engaged to his wife. They're married. They got married a year later. And it's funny because this is my last son to get married. I have 3 sons, and he's my oldest son. And I don't know, I had been thinking about doing a facelift, and all of a sudden when that was approaching, along with I turned 60 in a few weeks, I was like, maybe now's the time. So last September, I guess, I went and started talking to plastic surgeons. And the thing that bothered me the most was I had these jowls, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to end up looking like, because I really take after my dad, and my dad died at age 59. But I remember he was having more of a square face. And so I was just like, that really bothered me. And the laxity right through my chin area was really starting to bother me. And I thought, let's just go talk to somebody. Once you start talking, then it's like, I'm ready to do it.
It is on.
You shouldn't even go start talking unless you're ready. But, and I'm one of these impulsive people. I don't really think about it. I just, okay, I'm going to do it. So that's what happened. I actually went and talked to a plastic surgeon in September that was actually out of town. I made my husband go with me because I wanted him to be on the same page with me. And he was like, just go talk to somebody in Birmingham. And I was like, no, this is the guy I want to do it. Anyway, really pushed me to go talk to somebody in Birmingham. And I'm so glad I did, because I ended up choosing the guy in Birmingham. And it worked out beautifully. Somebody had told me.
Which is where you live, right?
Yes, Birmingham, Alabama, yes. And somebody had told me, they said, if you can do it at home, it's going to be so much better. And They could not have been more right about that. But what I didn't do, so my appointment was in October, and then I scheduled my surgery. Actually, I couldn't get it scheduled till the 1st of February. It ended up getting bumped up to January, but I was cutting it close because the wedding was in April and I knew I needed time to recover. And it was quite the journey, and I shared it all on Instagram. I thought it was going to be I'd had plastic surgery before. I had a breast augmentation years ago. I had a brow lift actually when I was in my 40s. I had a mini tummy tuck when I was right after I had my third son, so I was like 29. So I've had plastic surgery, and but it had been a long time. And I just didn't think it was going to be that big a deal. I talked to friends. I saw, with social media today, we follow so many people, and I'm sorry, but so many people do not share all the bad
They
stuff.
don't share the nitty gritty. Yeah, you
They
just see the
really don't.
highlights.
Yeah, and it all looks like, oh, that's so easy. And I didn't ask enough questions, probably too. And like I said, my appointment was in October, and then I ended up having my surgery in January. So I went from October to January, really not seeing the doctor or talking about it at all. So that was, I think if I had it to do again, I would go back and ask more questions. And I don't even know any of the questions I would ask other than tell me more about the downtime. But the problem with these doctors, and I just think this is across the board because I've talked to a lot of people about this, the doctors are so used to doing these procedures that it's just another day in their life. And it's it's not that big a deal. And it is a big deal when it's happening to you. And some recoveries are a piece of cake, and some recoveries are not a piece of cake. And it all depends upon if you get sick. I got sick with pneumonia right afterwards. I am a people person. I need to be around people. And it was January. It was dark. Wouldn't see anybody. I felt very vulnerable.
You
I
were isolated. Yeah.
I couldn't work out, which was usually how I release my endorphins and get everything. Like when I'm down, the best thing I can do is go out for a walk. Well, I wasn't going out for a walk. It's just things like that just really affected me mentally. And I
Yeah.
wasn't prepared for the mental part of it.
I mean, first of all, just you saying it, like when I think about January, I'm already going, oh, that seems like the perfect time to do it because there's nothing going on in January. But what you're saying is, but you can't get out and walk really. You're somewhat in the South, but it's still pretty cold then. And
Oh,
if the
you couldn't
weather's
get out.
bad,
You wouldn't have wanted to walk anyway. I could not walk. After
oh my
surgery
gosh.
like that, they tell you, because I was like thinking, oh, I could walk in the next week. They were like, no, don't do anything for at least 2 weeks.
Wow.
I can't even do anything for 2 weeks. Even if I had felt like it, I couldn't. And you want to follow your doctor's directions on that.
Yes, yes.
So
Oh
yeah, so
man, but it is
all of it.
dark and you're
Mhm.
isolated anyway. And okay, when you went through this, so you didn't feel like you asked enough questions, but the morning of your surgery, where you were pretty excited though, right? Like you weren't,
Oh, I
yeah.
talked about it on, I came on Instagram. I'm like, okay, today's the day. I was so excited. One thing, again, that no one showed, and honestly didn't even show this. I need to go back and put this picture up because I have the picture of it. When you go get a facelift, I don't know if everybody does this, but they did it to me. They divide your hair into little sections and put it up some to get it all out of the way. It was so tight on my head. It hurt. It was like, I can't even explain to you what it looked like. And it was rolled up, and so then when it came out of that, it was a tangled mess. That was horrible. The hair part was a big deal because that was the other thing. They said you can only use baby shampoo and no conditioner.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, my hair gets so tangly. There's no way I wouldn't be able to get a
Well,
comb out.
thank goodness the doctor did tell me. He said, you'll never get a comb through your hair. And he said, you can use a light conditioner. So I did. And then baby shampoo will ruin your hair too, if most baby shampoo. So I have a friend who makes shampoo bars that I love. And she makes like a chamomile baby shampoo. So that's the shampoo I used So my hair did not get as damaged. I think a lot of people's hair probably gets very damaged during that
That's
time.
so.
It goes against everything, right? We're trying to look better, and then all of a sudden we're, I don't know. It was
Your hair's
that
getting
was, yeah,
fried. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
exactly.
So you have the surgery right away. Do you go home that night or did you go into an aftercare situation
Yeah.
or have a nurse come to your house?
So the nurse picked me up from the surgery center and took me to a hotel. And I'm so thankful I paid extra and did that. What I wish I would have done is paid more extra and had her take care of me for the next 3 days. But I didn't. I didn't even think about that being an option. So she took me to the hotel and she had to put cold compresses on me like every 15 or 30 minutes. I was really out of it, so it was just I just laid there in the bed, and she had, I guess, had a timer, and every 50, she had to stay up all night long. And the next morning, she took me back to the doctor's office, and I did have drains in, but you wouldn't have even known it. My head was all wrapped up, and then so went back to the doctor's office that next morning, and they took the drains out and unwrapped me, and that's when my hair was like quite a mess. And my husband picked me up, and yeah, they went over with him all the things he needed to help me with. I had staples all around my whole head. I felt like Frankenstein's bride. It
Oh
was
man.
it was awful. And I was supposed to put, let's see, you put Vaseline, but also you're supposed to clean it, not with hydrogen peroxide, not colored hair, because you're going to end up with some orange hair, but with, I can't even think of what I was putting on it. But anyway, I was so nervous. My husband was trying to do it and he was putting it all over. I was like, no, just leave me alone. Let me do it. Because I thought he's really going to ruin my hair. It's going to be one day I'll have my face all done and my hair is going to be a mess. So
I
anyway,
mean, throughout this process, was he like supportive and this is great, or was he like freaking out? What was going through his
he was
mind?
like, I told you shouldn't do this.
Oh no.
First of all, then he said, then he got sick too. And so, like, by day about 3 or 4, we were both so sick, had this horrible cough, and he felt awful. I felt awful. He was not going to work and would come home if
Oh
he did go to
no.
work and get in bed. And I'll never forget one night he said, help me. And I was like, I looked at him, I said, I thought I might divorce him at that point. And Jill, he's my third husband, and I was ready to just look for number 4 because I was like, are you kidding me? Help you. Think about how bad you feel. I feel that bad. Plus, look at this. It was awful.
I
Awful.
cannot.
No,
Oh
it was,
no.
uh,
Oh, he had a terrible case of the man flu. Oh my
oh,
word. That is
oh,
so
yes.
funny. So he's like, told you shouldn't have done this. He is sick. You both find out you have pneumonia.
I had pneumonia. I don't know what he had. I think it's I'm
He
not
had
sure. I'm not.
he
I was
had the man flu.
diagnosed with
Yeah, you were actually diagnosed. He had by proxy or
whatever.
whatever. He
Exactly.
was feeling left out, is what he was doing.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Uh,
funny. We could do a whole
uh,
episode on men and how they are around,
uh,
like, oh yeah, I
yes.
can only imagine.
Yeah.
So, how
Yeah.
many days were you like, you had pneumonia, you're trying to rehab from this surgery? Like, how long did it take to get you feeling like back to remotely like yourself
Mm.
again?
So a week out, I went for my post-op, and when they started taking most of the staples out, that I felt better, but my mental state was horrible. I wasn't able to sleep during a lot of this time because you have to sleep elevated, and they give you
Mm.
sleeping pills, but those sleeping pills do not work. In fact, one night I took the sleeping pills and woke up in the middle of the night, and I have to put all this, I had a laser on top of all this, so I had to put all this Vaseline all over my skin. So I woke up at the middle of the night after taking the sleeping pill going, oh my gosh, we're bugs and I'm the greasy bug. And my husband
Oh,
thought
you
I had
were
lost.
like tripping. Yes.
Oh, he thought I had started hallucinating, and he thought he was going to have to take me to the psych ward that night. He started asking me my name, my birthday.
It just kept getting worse
Oh,
and worse.
so anyway, but by the first week, and they started taking the staples out, that was a little better. I was crying in
Mhm.
the office though, and I was saying I shouldn't have done this, and I was just like, it was not a good scene that day.
And did you see the doctor at that point or just the nurses? And what was their
So
reaction to all of that?
So they were very sweet. My doctor wasn't actually there. He had a procedure himself. So the other doctor was there. And it was actually the first time I'd met him. I was like, oh, this is a great meeting. I'm in tears and but he was very nice and very this happens. Some people get depressed. Yeah, I'm very second guess themselves before it gets better. By about the week and a half mark, I went back in and started getting lymphatic massages, and I started feeling a little bit better as far as the way I looked because I just felt like I
Mhm.
looked so scary too. I still did not feel good, so that's what made me go to the doctor and get an X-ray. And sure enough, I had pneumonia, so I had to be put on antibiotics and that first antibiotics didn't work. So it was probably really 3 or 4 weeks before I
Mm.
felt decent, but I still didn't feel good to go out in public. I did. I finally, after about a week and a half, I let my children see me and I have a granddaughter who I really didn't want her to see me, but she was like, "You don't look that bad, Dee Dee." She was
Oh.
very sweet. But I about after 6 weeks when I could start wearing sunscreen again, because that was the other thing. I had this laser done, so they didn't want me putting anything on my laser until it was healed good. And so I was scared to go outside to get sun. So I bought so many hats during that time. I am diligent. I've never been so diligent about wearing a hat as I am now.
Yeah. You have
So
the CO2 laser?
I did. It was the YAG CO2,
Yeah.
and it was like the most intense where my face was
Yes.
bloody
I've had
afterwards.
that under my eyes done and it's amazing, but it's a lot more than you realize. It's literally taking off layers of your skin, but it
Oh,
does a
yes.
great job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I hope
So
I never have to
now,
do it again.
yes, exactly. So now you are what, 6 months? Are we about the six
So
month
January,
mark?
yeah, I guess so. I guess about 6 months. And
Wow. And so how do you feel about the whole thing now?
it's just like people said, it's like having a baby. You forget. Thank goodness I have it all documented on Instagram in my
Yes.
highlights so that I can go back and relive it if I ever decide I want to do something crazy like that again. So I can go, do you really?
You
But
look amazing. I feel like you
thank
look
you.
just stunning. I mean, you always did
Thank you.
before, but it's wow. What a refreshed. People will be
Yeah.
shocked to hear that you're 60.
Oh, you're sweet. So yeah, I do feel like I really love my jawline now. I really
Hmm.
like how that turned out. I just feel like I look like the same person, but I just feel, like
Totally.
you said, refreshed. And
Mm.
yes, I am happy now. It was hard, but I'm glad to be on this side of it, and I hope to never do it again. But you can never say never. I have a friend who's done it like 3 times. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh my
But she
gosh.
does look really good, and I think it's probably like everything else in life. Once you do it once, the second time's not near as bad as first because you
Know
know
what
a
to
little bit
expect.
more. Yeah.
That's
So
interesting. Is there something other than asking more questions? Is there anything else like that you can think of that you wish you had done differently before?
I think the biggest thing is, as far as I really thought that I could handle it pretty much myself, that my husband could help me, and that the two of us together I would be fine. I wish I would have hired somebody to either come in my house or me go somewhere with him for a few days because that was really tough. I felt like I couldn't do anything and I was frustrated with my husband because he's not a good caretaker. I should have known that. I knew that. He's just not. And I
Right.
had tried to make food ahead of time so that I knew it was important to eat lots of protein, especially while you're healing and stuff like that. But some of the things I had made were soups and things like that. You really want to watch your sodium intake. And I didn't think about that until somebody mentioned that to me, I think through Instagram the first day. And I was like, I had all this soup I had made ahead of time in my refrigerator
Mm.
that was full of sodium. So then I was calling friends up saying, hey, can you make me some soup with sodium and all kinds of
Yeah,
things? I was asking friends, which luckily I do have great friends that did bring me things and
that's
stuff like
good.
that. But
Oh,
those
you
are
know
the
what?
biggest
One
things.
other thing I remember you talking about at the time was that, trust me, if, and I will link up Deanna's like social media handle because you want to go back and watch the highlights of her experience with this. Because I just loved how you were so open and honest. And I felt like every woman over 50 was like glued to Instagram. What is going on today? How is Deanna doing? But you talked about you had traveled right before the surgery too, though, right?
Yeah, so like I said, originally my surgery was in February. So I had a trip to Disney World of all places, which is funny because I don't normally, I have grown children. So why would I go to Disney other than my granddaughter? But I didn't even get to go with my granddaughter, but my son and daughter-in-law that live in Seattle were going to be in Orlando and they love Disney. And they had a wedding that they were going to be at. And I hadn't seen them since last summer. So I really wanted to meet them there. So we had planned a trip in January. And then it turned out that my surgery was moved up to, I got back on a Thursday and my surgery was on a Friday. And so I had been at Disney World of all places on a plane and then and the weather was so horrible while I was there. Yeah, I did not want to cancel that trip. I thought about canceling that trip before, but I was just like, no, I'm not going to get to see him until April. And you know how we are about our kids. We want to see our kids. So.
Absolutely. Nothing's going to hold you back. If you've been listening and thinking, I wish someone would just tell me what actually works for women my age, that's literally what I do. Inside my Faster Way coaching, I work with women in midlife who are ready to feel leaner, stronger, and more like themselves again, but without obsessing over food or spending hours in the gym. If you've ever wondered what it's like to work with me or how this could fit into your life, I've linked all the details in the show notes. Take a peek. You might just find your next best step. Yeah,
Right.
you wouldn't. Who
So,
would have predicted you would get pneumonia? I feel
yeah.
like on top of just the awful hard it is to recovery from such a major surgery like that, to have pneumonia on, I mean, your poor
Mm.
body is just
Oh,
fighting.
yeah, because I'm
fight.
like so healthy usually. So I'm like, I cannot
Yes.
believe this of all people. But
Let's get
anyway.
into that. Speaking of how healthy you are, because that's what drew me to you in the first place, is this how fit and vibrant and healthy that you are. When I started following you, you're in your late 50s, you're getting ready to turn 60. So tell me about your fitness routine through the years. How has it changed or evolved over time?
It has evolved a lot. In my 30s, I was a runner. I had girlfriends that I ran with, and I've always been one that I love to work out. That's just been a part of me. I've never been one of those people who dreaded working out. So that's always been a part of me. But I was one of those people in my 30s and even in my 40s who could out exercise my bad diet. And it
Mhm.
wasn't horrible, but it wasn't a good diet. And you got to remember back then, too, because that was what, almost 30 years ago. We didn't know what we know today. So we know so much more. So that has really changed. Then in my 40s, that's when I found Pure Barre, which is a bar workout. And I owned a Pure Barre studio for a while and taught. And I still love Pure Barre. To me, that has been one of the biggest changes in my body because it's not so exerting. Like running was so exerting on my body, and yet I'm getting the resistance. And honestly, probably when I was in my 40s was when my body, I felt like, looked its all-time best because of the resistance training that I had started doing. Because in my
Mhm.
30s I wasn't really doing any resistance training. And but it was in my 40s that I started having perimenopause symptoms, which I, again, nobody talked about. I had no idea. And my biggest thing was sleep. I wasn't getting the sleep and all that. So then as I go in and hit my 50s, I realize that's when I first start hearing about perimenopause and menopause and all of this stuff. And how we definitely need to change our workout and strength training and protein and all of those things. So I really started, I was talking to somebody the other day. I remember when I thought wheat thins were healthy food. And especially the 100-calorie pack of wheat thins. I thought I was doing
Oh
good
yeah.
when I was eating
Mhm.
those. So anyway, I think all of that has changed, and luckily we have all learned so much what works for us. But I think the biggest thing is finding what works for you and knowing. The other thing is that I think is a major change for me is that it's all or nothing mentality. Because when I was in my 30s and 40s, I'd be like, oh, I gotta go on a diet. Yep. The weekend, I just blew it. I gotta go on a diet. And it would be some extreme salads for 2 days or whatever, and exercise really hard. And it's not, that's not what's going to change you. It's the small things that we do consistently that matter. So in my mid 50s, I really had to start looking at alcohol because I started learning then that alcohol was a toxin. If I want to be burning fat, I can't burn fat and drink alcohol at the same time. My body's going to do one or the other. And alcohol was getting in the way. So I really pretty much, it was in right before COVID, and I'm so glad because I think COVID really changed a lot of people, some for the good and some not so good. But right before COVID, I had decided to just try and give up alcohol for a month and see what it would be. And it was right in November, right around the holidays. I was like, this was not a good time, but I did it. And I felt so much better. I could sleep so much better. So to this day, I drink occasionally, but I'm very aware of when I do. And when I drink one drink, and I'm not going to sleep as well. So I have to really think, okay, do I want sleep or do I want to have a glass of something?
It's so true. It's so true. And I wear an Aura ring and I know how I feel. I can tell by my sleeping, but then I see the data in black and white on the app and okay, your heart rate was elevated all night. Your temperature was elevated. Like you didn't get enough deep or REM sleep. And it's mind blowing how much it does affect us. And you're so smart. And gosh, so many people through COVID, the drinking just escalated. You know what I mean? So good for you for not falling into that trap. But it's like I think knowing that be choosy about when you're going to do it. When I was in my 30s, it was like I would just drink wine on a Tuesday night by myself because I could. I don't know. I would watch Housewives of something and sit there and drink a half a bottle of wine. And now I'm not, that's like, why would I do that? This needs to be there has to be a reason for me to do that. And it's not always easy. Just last night, my husband had been out doing something after work, like on a tractor. And I think he was all hot and sweaty. And he's just, and he went and grabbed a beer and he was sitting on our back porch, just watching a storm come in. And it's those little things trigger me because I'm thinking, ooh, he's having a drink. Now I want one. But I'm like, no, it's a Tuesday night. I don't need this right now. But you have to think it through.
I think a lot of people struggle with that and with peer pressure. Your friends are like, yeah, you got to have one glass with me. I'm lucky in the fact that my husband barely drinks. Something happened. He likes to drink. But what happened during COVID, we're not exactly sure. It has something to do with the antihistamine. Anyway, he can drink anything. I don't care if it's beer, wine, anything he drinks, he gets all stopped up.
Yeah. So that started happening to me. Yeah.
Really?
It's like I have and it's not like it happened overnight, but just slowly over a couple of years, it's like I have a terrible histamine response to certain alcohols or certain wines. And it just makes you miserable. It makes you not want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, he will have one sip and then he's so congested the rest of the night. And so it's not worth it. He did start taking something recently, Dupixent, and it's helped, but he barely drinks. And so that's been very helpful.
That is helpful.
I do think it would be harder. It's just like anything in life.
Totally.
It's so much better when you've got somebody doing it with you So.
Well, you have an incredible body. We know that you're big into walking and resistance training and movement you're like I am. It's like therapy for us. But tell me about your food and what are like the foods that you feel like they're keeping you on track, or is there anything that you're avoiding in this phase of life?
I should avoid a lot more sugar. I still like sugar a lot. I'm not as much a sugaraholic as I used to be, but I really, before every meal, I just think, what protein am I going to have? I've never been one that is a good tracker. I'm not, I don't know, it just makes me feel icky. It's kind of like counting calories to me. It doesn't work for me. So instead, I just think of, okay, what's going to be my protein? And that's going to be a big portion of my plate. Like this morning, I had eggs and cottage cheese because I know eggs don't have tons of protein, but then you add the cottage cheese in, I'm going to get more protein. And or I'll do yogurt and mix in some protein powder. At night, I'm always thinking, first thing before I think of anything else, what's my protein? And
Yes.
then I think about, okay, then what am I going to fill in with and what's high in fiber? So my two things that I really focus on are protein and fiber.
I love that.
And then after that, I don't really sweat it that much. I again, it goes back to me, it's like it's these small things that we do consistently. And if I we were just in our house in South Carolina, and I do feel like for that July 4th week especially, we ate a lot more really desserts and stuff like that because we had family in and parties and all kinds of stuff. And so luckily, my husband said, we both need, he said, I need to cut back on some of that. And I'm like, yeah, I do too. Again, so helpful when we were doing it together because it's
Yes.
nothing worse than watching somebody eat some ice cream and you're sitting there going, I can't eat that. That's like no
Totally.
fun. But if I have a week like that, I mean, I'm not miserable because I don't ever get myself to that misery feeling like I did in my 30s and 40s. I will tell you, in my 30s and 40s, I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. And I guess I really didn't understand how good you can feel. Like you can go on vacation and still feel really good. When I went on vacation in my 30s and 40s, I just went all out and ate whatever, whenever, drank whatever, whenever. And I would feel horrible and I didn't have the energy. And now my energy and sleep is so much more important to me than having another dessert or another,
Absolutely.
whatever.
I think that's so true. If I'm driving down the street in my little town and I see the line wrapped around the McDonald's drive-through and just everybody there, and I'm thinking, this is like what the people driving through there, this is what they're used to eating on a routine basis. Or it could be any other kind of fast food or any other kind of highly processed stuff. And I just always think to myself, like, man, they just don't, I bet they don't even know how much better they could feel if they weren't eating such highly processed and high in fat, high in sugar types of foods. And that doesn't mean that it tastes bad. The foods that like you and I prefer to eat, I mean, I feel like I share enough on social media for people to go, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, that looks great. I'm sure, and I know you eat
Right.
the same
Yeah.
way. But I think, look what you said. You didn't even realize, and I didn't either in my 30s and 40s, like how good you can feel.
Mhm.
And man, I hopefully we're people that are listening, like how encouraging to know that here's Deanna, she's getting ready to turn 60 and she feels better than ever. That's how
Well, it
it,
is. It's so funny because I would have thought I would feel more, I would have had more energy in my 30s and 40s than I have now, but I feel so much better. When I owned my Pure Bar studio, so I worked, we would have the weirdest schedules because you're teaching classes in the morning. And so I was always either teaching classes or working the desk. And then we'd have this lull in the afternoon from about 1 to 4 before another class. And one thing I can remember snacking on a lot and wondering why I was tired afterwards. Do you know those peanut butter pretzels?
yes.
Again, I thought those were healthy. I ate so many of
Oh,
those.
you were getting so much protein inside of those pretzels.
But no wonder by 4 o'clock I was just so exhausted from.
Yes, girl, we led parallel lives because I was the same way.
Oh
I
gosh.
used to go to the gym and teach classes and then I'd be killing it and then do my own workout and then I would eat this I had this certain protein bar that I liked that it should have been an energy bar. I think it had 12 grams of protein, something lame and but it tasted like a cookie or I
Exactly.
was like, oh, it's got 120 or maybe 200 calories or 180 calories
Yeah.
and I would eat one of those and then maybe I'd eat one of those like in another hour or two later and then have more coffee and then I'd go and get a big Diet Coke before I'd pick up my
Oh
kids
yeah.
from
Diet
school.
Coke. I love
I
that.
was all over it. I was doing all the things and then wondering why and then I would be so triggered by like the little things if my kids or my husband was doing. I was like, yeah, you were such a grouch because you were hangry.
Like I
And I
know.
wonder why now. I'm like, oh, I'm so chill. And I'm like, you're rested and you're well
Right.
fed.
Exactly. Exactly.
Goodness. Hey,
It's like
let's,
when we know better, we do better. I think
sure.
that's the biggest thing.
Absolutely. I know you have to go pick up your granddaughter soon, but I want to
Mhm.
talk about you hosting the family wedding. Your son got married in
Mhm.
April. And I think my daughter has even said to me, because we live out on really pretty
Mhm.
land, and has said like, oh, when I get married someday, I'd love to get married out here. And I'm like, no, that sounds terrible. That sounds like so much work. I would be so stressed out. So I want to hear from someone that's done it. Tell me everything.
Okay. First of all, I have to start off with I married my husband now 11 years ago last April. And when I married him, I moved into his house and this house that we have, the beautiful piece of property. And I always said it needed a wedding here. So I got married in April 13th of 2014. Yeah, 2014. Yeah. And my son, my middle son, and his wife had just got engaged right after we got married. And so June the 3rd, we were sitting there. This June the 3rd, 2014, we were sitting there, and my daughter-in-law, she was not my daughter-in-law at the time, my son's girlfriend at the time, or she was the fiance. She said to me, she goes, July 4th will be our 8-year dating anniversary. They'd been together since they were 15 years old.
Oh.
And we still didn't have a plan for their wedding. And I said, do you want to get married in the backyard? And she said, this was June the 3rd. Do you want to get married July 4th in the backyard? And she was like, do you think we can do it? I'm like, yes, we can do it. Because I knew it would be so much easier for my son to do it all really quick. And that wedding went off like a hit. It was perfect. It was such a fun occasion, and we had such a wonderful time. But it was quick. We had a month to throw it together, and she did it. It was just a combination. She has a twin sister. It was a combination. So that was great. Then my youngest son gets married. He elopes to Scotland. And so when he gets back, I have a party for him here. So we've had a party for him. Then, so when my oldest son gets engaged, he says, what do you think if we have a party, we get married at the house like the others? And I'm like, I think that sounds great. The greatest thing is this daughter-in-law that I just got, she is an event planner.
Oh my gosh.
So she planned it all. Few days after they got engaged, she sent me an aerial view of our house showing where everything was going to be and where the first wedding we had was very much more casual. In fact, this was the first time that I've gotten to get a mother of the groom dress, like a long dress and everything. But she had planned everything down to the details. She is fabulous. And so all I really had to do is have my house cleaned and show up. So it was easy because she did it all.
Wow. So
Um,
okay, do you live in a subdivision? Or are you out in the country?
no, we live in an area, it's called Mountain Brook in Birmingham. And I don't really know how to explain it, but we have an estate lot. So it's a 4.5 acres.
So you had
And
plenty of room for parking.
we had a valet parker, and yeah, they just
Perfect.
parked it on the streets. And
Oh, that's awesome.
this wedding was not a huge wedding. I think we had 60 or 70 people, so it wasn't a
Okay.
huge wedding.
Yeah,
The
but
first one
still,
was actually bigger. We had 100 people for that wedding, but it's just easy. It wasn't that big a deal. My husband loves to entertain, so he's much more the entertainer. He loves that kind of stuff much more
that's
than I do.
amazing. Wow,
So
that is impressive. So was there from start to finish, how long did it take you guys to plan or for her to plan this wedding?
So that was the thing. They got engaged a year earlier,
Okay.
and so it was. I thought too long of a process. In my opinion, I tried to push for them to get married in the fall because I just know the longer the engagement, the more it gets crazy. I've just seen it
Yeah.
with my friends and everything. But a lot of times you can't get the right people, and she sourced
Yeah.
all the people who did the food. The food was amazing. So maybe she couldn't have sourced all that as well. I
Right.
don't know. I'm like, it was. I felt like after a year, I was like, we were ready for this wedding.
Yes.
And
What
my
advice?
son, I think,
Yeah,
was getting
he was totally
frustrated.
ready. Of course he was.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone that's thinking about hosting a major event in their home?
I would say get help.
Yeah.
Like, don't try to do it all yourself. Like I said, I don't love to entertain in my house anyway. My husband loves to entertain. I would never host an event and try to do everything. So I would definitely get help. I would never do it by myself because there's just too much to do, depending upon how many you're having. But yeah, I think that I'm not an entertainer anyway. I definitely need help.
Yeah. But how special. I mean, and was it inside and outside, or was it?
It was all outside. And
Okay.
we just, thank goodness, the weather ended up being beautiful. We did have backup plans in case the weather wasn't good, but it
That
ended
was
up
my
being
next
beautiful.
question was,
Yeah.
okay, what do you do? Because
Yeah.
that's what I tell my daughter. I'm like, if it would rain out here, it would be a nightmare.
I kept thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh, but the week before on both the weddings, we decided, we looked at the weather forecast to see if we would need a tent. And we did for the wedding we just had in April. She did have a big tent where we ate dinner underneath. So that was already there in case, but she wanted the tent there anyway. But the ceremony was not under a tent.
Gotcha.
So we
How
would have had
lovely.
to pull that inside
Yes.
if it had rained.
Oh my gosh, how fun, how fun. Listen, I know you got to run and pick up your grandchild, but give us the details on your social media because I know that my listeners will want to follow you for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just Well and Worthy Life. You can find me really mainly I'm on Instagram. I hang out a lot on Instagram. I really just share what's going on, outfits. I started sharing more fashion stuff, Amazon stuff.
I love it.
I'm like doing all kinds of different things. So I was a coach. I'm not really coaching anymore. I really just like to share and yeah.
You're a bright
love to connect with everybody.
Good. You're a bright spot on Instagram, and I appreciate you so much sharing with us today. So thank you, Deanna.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Live Your Best Midlife. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit that follow button. And if you want to help more people discover my podcast, I'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave a rating and a review. Your feedback not only brightens my day, but it helps others to find my show. And if you're craving some more behind the scenes action, follow me on TikTok at Jill Lewis Living or on Instagram at Jill B. Lewis.